You have been told to think positive to attract what you want. The law of attraction has been marketed in so many ways, in so many superficial methods in the last decade. Today, you will discover something deep about how reality works. You will understand how you attract not what you think, but who you are deep within yourself as a Swabhava. You will discover the ancient law of identification based on the wisdom of Vedanta and the ancient text Yoga Vasishtha to truly master your reality and to live a life that you always wanted to live. And to do this, we will be going deep into the ancient text Yoga Vasishtha, which is a teaching of Vasishtha Muni, who was the guru of Lord Sri Rama, who gave the wisdom of Vedanta and the nature of reality to Rama himself. And first, we will begin with a story. This story comes directly from the ancient Yoga Vasishtha. Long ago, there lived a queen named Queen Leela, and she had a husband who was the king, whose name was King Padma. And they lived an abundant life, a fulfilled life. Everything was going well in their life. Now, what happens to an individual when all things in his life are going well? When he has financial freedom, when he has good relationships and health, what happens? At this point, an individual becomes insecure. He begins to worry, what happens if I lose all of this? What happens if I die? What happens if my husband dies? This is what happened to Queen Leela, and she begins to get insecure about her life and she begins to fear death. And eventually, at some point in time, King Padma dies. The king dies, and this queen is stuck with grief. Everything was going well in her life, and now the king dies, and she is in extreme level of suffering. Now, at this point in time, Goddess Saraswati, in Sanatana Dharma, Saraswati symbolizes wisdom, knowledge, and jnana. So, Goddess Saraswati appears before Leela and she begins to console her. She begins to broaden her perspective, and basically, Goddess Saraswati gives Leela the power to disidentify from her physical body, and as the subtle body or the soul enables her to travel to different dimensions. There are different dimensions, different realities as per this ancient wisdom that we are currently unaware of or we cannot currently tap into. There are different frequencies in which different realities exist, and based on our level of identification, we are currently experiencing just one aspect of reality. So Goddess Saraswati takes Queen Leela out of her physical body, and with the subtle body, she travels different dimensions and she looks at various realities which are so mesmerizing, which are dreamlike, but all were equally real for the individuals who were experiencing those realities. Now, like this, Queen Leela and Goddess Saraswati come to a different alternate reality where King Padma is still alive and he is ruling a different kingdom in a different name altogether. So, Queen Leela was surprised to see the king alive and well and ruling a kingdom. And then the story goes like this. Basically, Goddess Saraswati helps Leela understand that the reality that we are experiencing is Maya. It is a consequence of our own mind. And each of the realities that we experience as individuals are constructs of the mind based on the memory we carry, based on our tendencies and our beliefs and mental constructs. Each of us project a reality for us to experience. And like this, the story goes, and ultimately, Saraswati broadens the perspective of Leela to help her understand that she is not the physical body, she is not the subtle body, but she is the infinite consciousness, and there is no death to that. King Padma and Leela and Saraswati and everything else is one at that level, and for that dimension, there is no death. And when we access that and when we understand that, we experience true fulfillment and freedom. So, this was the story. But this video is about the law of identification. Within the story, when goddess Saraswati takes Leela into an alternate reality where King Padma in a different name is ruling a different kingdom, both goddess Saraswati and Leela enter a room in which the king was residing. And they enter the room by going into a small peephole. These holes that are there in the doors. We call it peephole or keyholes. So, this queen and goddess Saraswati enter the room through that small keyhole. Now, at this point, as Maharshi Vasistha is explaining this story to Lord Sri Rama, Lord Sri Rama gets curious and he asks his Guru Vasistha, how can people enter a small hole and go through it? Can everyone do it? So, how are these people able to do? Was the question that Rama asks Vasistha Muni. Now, to explain the concept to Lord Sri Rama, Vasistha Muni talks about identification. The sage Vasistha tells Sri Rama that for the person who is identified with the body and who is identified with the physical dimension, it is impossible for such a person to do such things. But this is not due to the inherent limitation of a human being. It is simply because of his identification. So, this is the law of identification that we need to understand. Inherently, we are infinite beings with infinite potential. Your potential here and now is truly infinite. If you are experiencing a limitation, it is because of your own identification. Whatever we identify ourselves with is what we become. Basically, what Sage Vasistha helps Lord Sri Rama understand is this: your limitations exist only because of who you think you are. This is very, very important, and I want you to memorize this. Your limitations exist only because of who you think you are. At every level, at every dimension, whatever limitations, whatever scarcity you are experiencing is only because of the law of identification. The law of identification states you become what you identify with. If you identify as the body, you will experience the limitation of the body. You will suffer when the body suffers. You will be a victim of the fear of death and many other fears. All of this because not you are inherently limited somehow, but it is because you have chosen a reality based on your identification, consciously or unconsciously. But when we talk about the law of identification, there are very many levels to it. So now we will explore the different levels in which we identify ourselves with and because of which we experience this limited reality that we currently experience. First of all, we need to understand from the Vedantic perspective that we are infinite in our essence. We are truly infinite. This dimension is called as Atman in the Upanishads. So that is the true essence of who we are. Now, we do not experience this currently. We experience ourselves as a limited identity, as a limited swabhava. So this is what we call our swabhava. We are tied to an ego and the body, and we feel like we are the body. Right now, we experience ourselves as this swabhava, and within swabhava, there are different samskaras, which are beliefs and habitual traits. Beyond that, there is the physical body that each and every one of us have, that we can see, feel and touch. And beyond that is the subtle body or the Sukshma Sharira, which is mind along with prana, which is a subtler body that we carry. Now, this subtle body travels from one physical body to the next. This is the cycle of samsara that Vedanta speaks of. At the time of physical death, when we lose this physical body, the subtle body travels to another physical body based on the memory it carries, based on the karma it carries. Now, in the story of Leela and goddess Saraswati, this subtle body is the body which travels to different dimensions and which enters a room through a small hole, because the physical laws do not apply to the subtle body. It is not bound by the physical laws. It is a different dimension altogether, which right now we do not have access to. But there are many examples of yogis and different sadhaks who reach that level where they are able to exhibit such miraculous behaviors. When we study the autobiography of a yogi or works of Swami Vivekananda, all these stories are mentioned in many places. But fundamentally, it all comes down to the law of identification. Even when Queen Leela travels to different dimensions and enters a room through a small hole, she has not achieved anything. She has simply disidentified herself from the limited identity of the body. So, as per the law of identification, as long as we think we are the body, we experience the physical laws and we are bound by the physical laws and we experience the limitations of the body. Now, beyond the physical body, as long as we are identified with the beliefs, which is even more narrower, we experience those beliefs to be true in our reality. For example, we can take two people who graduate out of the same college with same grades and similar upbringing. But one person can turn out to be extremely successful in his career, and another person might end up living an average life. Now, the difference here is in swabhava, which is identity and beliefs. So, whatever we identify with is what we become. When a person, let's say, unconsciously identifies with a limiting belief and believes that achieving success is very difficult, it is not for me, only 1 in 100 business becomes successful, it is difficult to do it, and so on. When he believes that within himself, because he identifies with that belief, as per the law of identification, he experiences a reality in which his belief is reflected in that reality. At the same time, another person might believe that success comes easily to him, that he is worthy of success, and it is possible to be successful if he learns the right things, if he does the right things, and if he constantly works on himself and his career. So, such a person might be able to experience a reality where success and abundance are possible because of his belief that it is possible. So, again, the law of identification says you become what you identify yourself with, and your limitations exist only because of who you think you are. So, at one level, the practical takeaway for professionals, entrepreneurs, and seekers who are listening to this is that take an audit of your beliefs and your swabhava, your identity. What kinds of beliefs are you holding? Whether they are positive and whether they are in congruence with your vision for your life, or whether they are negative and whether they are not in alignment with who you need to become. Work on removing your negative beliefs and limiting beliefs, because your reality is tied to those beliefs based on the law of identification. And this is one aspect. Beyond that, we are all identified with the body. We have a strong belief within ourselves that we are the body, because of which we experience the fear of death. And psychologists say that almost every other fear is tied to the fear of death. So, later on, after working on our limiting beliefs and swabhava, we need to work on disidentifying with the physical body through meditation, through self inquiry, through surrender and gratitude. We can create a gap between our awareness and our body. We can see that we are not the body. The more we understand that we are not the body, we expand our perspective and we get rid of all fears, including the fear of death. But Vedanta doesn't stop here. It further states you are not the subtle body also. So Vedanta says you are not the Swabhava, your identity and your beliefs. You are neither your physical body, the Sthula Sharira, nor you are the subtle body, which is the Sukshma Sharira, because even that is limited in a way. Although a subtle body can do a lot of miraculous things compared to the physical body, even that is not unlimited, even that is not infinite. Vedanta says beyond all this, your nature is infinite, and that is the infinite consciousness or Atman. Realizing that is the ultimate goal in Vedanta, and that is called moksha or liberation. It is just about disidentifying from all limitations and seeing yourself for who you are. That is the goal. We only experience a reality based on our level of identification. If our bodily identification is strong, that is the reality that we experience. If our bodily identification is less, and if we are identified with the subtle body, now we experience a different aspect of reality. So, this is how it works. So it's not about attraction, but it's about identification. And finally, understand that every identification is limited. When you drop all identifications, that is when you recognize who you truly are as the infinite consciousness. Finally, these are the takeaways from this video. Number one, fear of death begins with body identification. Number two, consciousness transcends space, time, and death, and you are that consciousness. Number three, reality mirrors your level of awareness. And number four, self realization is the ultimate goal. And finally, number five, human potential is limitless because you are the infinite consciousness. The process of understanding this identification and slowly disidentifying from the current identity and consciously crafting a new swabhava for us to experience a new reality, basically becoming the best versions of ourselves through this understanding, is what we call conscious creation at ACS.